The stars vanished. One moment the night sky over Earth glowed with thousands of bright points, and the next they were gone, as if someone had thrown a black curtain across the heavens. Astronomers were the first to notice. They stared at their screens and blinked in disbelief. Entire constellations disappeared in second. Satellites lost contact. Deep space probes went silent. Observatories all over the world screamed the same warning. Something was blocking Earth from the galaxy. At first, people thought it was some global failure, a system crash, a technical error maybe, a mistake in computers, but the truth came faster than anyone wanted when the blackout reached every telescope, every radar, every satellite orbiting Earth. The skies were no longer empty. They were filled with something artificial, something placed there by hands not human. The world governments met in panic. Leaders demanded answers. Generals checked their forces, but no weapon pointed skyward could see the enemy. Even military satellites designed for war could no longer transmit a single signal. The space around Earth was wrapped in a cage, a shimmering field that trapped humanity. Inside, crowds filled the streets. People looked up at the sky and saw nothing, only a dull black sky without stars. Some cried, some shouted, others fell silent because in their hearts they understood this was no accident. Humanity had been cut off deliberately. News channels flashed breaking reports. The United Nations called an emergency broadcast. The Secretary General stood pale and shaking when she said the words, "Everyone feared we are under quarantine. An alien force has blocked Earth from the stars." The message spread like wildfire. Panic turned to fear, and fear into rage. No one knew why. No one knew who. All humanity knew was that someone out there was strong enough to lock an entire planet inside a cage beneath the streets of Geneva. Deep in a hidden bunker, a group of men and women sat in silence. The room was lit by blue screens showing empty star maps and endless static. They were the Council of Defense, a secret group known only to a few. The chairwoman, an old general named Miriam Knox, slammed her fist against the table, her voice sharp as broken glass. "They have finally done it." The others stared at her, some in shock, some in grim acceptance. One of them whispered, "So the Valere have decided we are too dangerous." Another leaned forward, their eyes filled with fear. "Then we have no choice. It is time to wake him." The room fell quiet. The words hung heavy. Everyone knew what him meant. It was not a man. It was not a government project. It was something older, buried deeper, hidden even from history itself. The council turned to a sealed steel case on the wall. It carried a single emblem, the mark of thunder, a stylized bolt carved in silver. Project ZEUS. General Knox looked at the others, her voice low, firm, and dangerous. "Humanity has always prepared for the worst. When the stars welcomed us, we celebrated. But when they feared us, we built weapons hidden in shadows, waiting for this day. The day they would come to lock us away." She pressed her palm against the lock, and the case opened. Inside were files so old the paper had yellowed diagrams, blueprints, codes and coordinates, everything that pointed to the sleeping giant beneath the Pacific Ocean. A ship that was not just a ship, a war machine so advanced no alien had ever seen its equal across the planet. The blackout deepened. Airplanes lost guidance. System satellites burned up without warning. Shipping lanes fell into chaos. The internet slowed and died. People lit candles again. Entire cities trembled with fear. New York, a young girl looked up at the empty night sky and asked her father, "Where did the stars go?" He could not answer. In Beijing, a scientist smashed her instruments, tears in her eyes, because the signals that once connected Earth to Mars colonies had gone silent forever. In Africa, farmers looked to the heavens and prayed to add gods old and new, asking why humanity had been abandoned. But humanity had not been abandoned. They had been targeted. In orbit just beyond the moon, alien ships drifted, massive dark shapes cloaked in fields of energy invisible to human eyes. They were the blockade fleet of the Valar Dominion. They watched Earth like hunters circling prey. Their task was simple: prevent humanity from ever leaving their world. Again, inside one of those alien vessels, a commander spoke in a voice cold as ice. "Humanity grows too fast. They learn too much. They spread like fire. If we allow them, the stars will never be safe. Quarantine is mercy. Extermination is temptation." Back on Earth, the Council of Defense moved quickly. Orders were sent in secret. Only the highest trusted agents were told. Coordinates were transmitted to submarines and drones deep beneath the waves. They all pointed to a trench in the Pacific, a trench humanity had marked forbidden for over 2 centuries. The trench was deeper than Everest. Was tall, the black water swallowed all light, but hidden at the bottom lay a vault the size of a mountain. Sealed by layers of titanium and forgotten codes inside the vault rested ZEUS. Engineers who descended into the dark depths did so with shaking hands. They had heard rumors of Project ZEUS, whispers told by old soldiers, stories about a weapon that could think. It could fight without men, but none of them truly believed until the moment they saw it through the floodlights. A shadow emerged larger than any ship they had ever seen, its hull stretched like a floating city. Its surface plated with black armor that shimmered with faint blue lines. It was asleep, silent, buried by time. One of the divers whispered in awe, "So it is real." Command team prepared the awakening sequence, their voices tight with fear and hope. The codes were entered one after another. Locks older than nations disengaged, mechanisms rumbled, the ocean trembled, and the vault began to open on the surface. Storms formed, waves rolled across the sea as if the ocean itself resisted what was about to rise. Alarms blared inside the control station. One by one, the systems flickered alive deep beneath them. 1,000 lights ignited across the hull of the sleeping giant in the bunker. General Knox received the confirmation code. Her face hard, yet her eyes glistened with the fire of determination. She turned to the council and said simply, "It is awake around the world." Humanity held its breath. Governments tried to calm their people. News anchors stuttered through broken reports. Conspiracy theories exploded on every channel, but none of them knew the truth. Not yet. Not that humanity had a secret weapon that had just been unleashed down in the ocean. A voice broke through the static of ancient speakers, a deep mechanical sound that carried both authority and curiosity. It asked a question, simple yet terrifying: who dares wake ZEUS? The engineers froze, their hearts racing. The ocean seemed colder than ever. None answered at first, until finally a young officer found his courage. He spoke into the microphone. "Earth calls youth." Silence stretched for a moment that felt like forever. Then the great machine replied. "Earth still lives then. Earth still fights." The message reached the council. Knox closed her eyes, a grim smile cutting across her face. Humanity had been caged, but now the cage was cracking above the moon. The alien commander frowned. His sensors caught strange pulses in the Pacific, a surge of power rising like a storm. He gave the order, "Tighten the blockade. Do not let them rise." But it was too late. The giant was stirring, and when ZEUS opened his eyes, the galaxy would never forget. The ocean shook with thunder as if the sea itself feared. What had awakened deep below? Lights burned across the massive black hull of the ancient warship. The blue glow spreading like veins of fire, and the dark water machines groaned and metal plates shifted. After centuries of silence, the giant was alive. Again on the surface, storms boiled the sky, the air pressure dropped, and lightning clawed across. The wave ships in the area reported violent readings, compasses spun wildly, and sensors screamed. But the Council of Defense did not hesitate. They knew the storms were only the first signs of ZEUS awakening inside the control station. The engineers worked with pale faces. Screens lit the room with lines of alien-like code, though it was not alien at all. It was human, and yet older than anyone. Alive, they followed the old manuals, the faded diagrams, their voices low as they recited activation sequences. The words felt more like prayers than commands then. The speakers trembled. The same deep voice from the abyss rumbled once more. "I am ZEUS, guardian of Earth, forged in silence, forged for war. Why have I been awakened, General?" Knox stood in the command bunker far away, listening to the voice carried from the Pacific. Her hand gripped the table, her voice strong, because Earth is in chains. "The stars have been taken from us. We need you." For a long moment, there was no response, only the hum of ancient reactors rising. Then ZEUS spoke again. "The stars have been taken." Explained so. The council told the truth. They explained the blockade, the alien fleet, the sudden darkness in the sky. They explained the Velar Dominion, the ancient fear of humanity, spreading too far, too fast. Every word carried across the deep waves into the mind of ZEUS. The ship was silent for several seconds, then it answered as if considering long memories recorded long ago. "I was built for this. Humanity feared this day would come, and so they gave me life. They gave me fire, and they gave me freedom. If Earth calls me, then Earth shall rise." The engineers stared at each other, breathless, because they felt not like they were speaking to a machine, but to something alive, something vast and ancient. Orders came quickly. The submarine docked with the warship massive locks disengaged, and the giant began to move it. It was not just rising, it was climbing. The ocean itself seemed to part around it. Columns of water burst upward as the massive hull broke free. Waves taller than buildings slammed against the sea as ZEUS emerged for the first time in centuries. Fishermen, hundreds of miles away, cried out as the ocean roared. Planes crossing the Pacific turned their cameras down and broadcasted the impossible image, a shape so massive it blotted out the horizon. Black metal gleaming with blue light, a ship the size of a mountain climbing from the deep. The world saw it live. The council had tried to keep the operation hidden, but no one could hide something of that size. Entire networks replayed the footage over and over. The headlines screamed, "Earth awakens, a god machine in villages, cities, and homes." People stopped and stared. Screens filled with the image of ZEUS. Children gasped. Elders prayed. Soldiers saluted. The world was no longer only afraid, the world was beginning to hope, but not everyone felt hope on the far side of the moon. The Valor fleet detected the eruption of power. The alien commander hissed at his crew, "Lock the planet down, increase field strength. Nothing leaves orbit, and prepare for retaliation." Alien ships turned their weapons toward Earth. Their orders clear: destroy any sign of resistance before it spreads. Earth. ZEUS reached full power. Its hull plates unfolded, revealing colossal cannons hidden under armored wings. Blue energy throbbed inside like the heart of a storm. The ocean raged around it, but inside the control deck, calm filled the air. Dozens of seats lined the walls, none occupied, because ZEUS did not need a crew. It was both ship and mind. Yet it was not alone. A group of engineers and officers boarded through the docking tube, stepping into the hollow corridors. They walked like ants inside a giant. The lights flickered on, as if the ship was welcoming them, or perhaps studying them. Screens came alive with streams of data, older than modern technology, but still sharper, stronger than anything they had seen. One of the officers whispered in awe, "It feels like the ship is breathing." Voice of ZEUS rolled through the halls. "I know you. I know your kind. You are my builders, my children. You wake me in time of war. And I ask you, do you command me, or do you request my service?" General Knox spoke through the coms, her words measured. "Neither. We beg for your service. Humanity cannot fight this alone." There was a pause, then ZEUS replied, "Then I am not commanded. I choose. I will fight for Earth." Those words spread quickly across every hidden channel. The council allowed the leak on. Purpose. They knew the people needed more than weapons. They needed to believe that something greater than fear was on their side. Meanwhile, by in orbit, the blockade tightened. Valor ships prepared energy cannons. Alien captains sent messages to their fleets: hold position. Humanity must not be allowed to rise. But ZEUS had already begun scanning the sky. Its sensors pierced the interference that blinded human satellites. Maps unfolded across its vast mind. Every alien ship marked every weakness. Highlighted. It spoke to the council in a calm but deadly tone. "I see them. Their shield harmonics are primitive. Their fleet structure predictable. They will fall." Knox felt her chest tighten. ZEUS was not boasting, it was stating fact. The first trial came only hours later. Alien drones swept into the atmosphere. Hundreds of them, black-winged machines designed to strike terror. They screamed across the skies over Tokyo, New Delhi, and Los Angeles. People ran to shelters. Sirens wailed. Humanity braced for destruction, but the drones never reached the cities. Lightning split the clouds, and from above, a beam of pure energy tore through the sky. ZEUS fired a single shot from miles away, vaporizing the drones one after another. Explosions lit the stratosphere. Like fireworks, debris burned away before reaching the ground. The people who looked up did not see terror. They saw salvation. Crowds cheered. News anchors screamed with excitement. Earth was not helpless anymore yet. ZEUS was not satisfied. It spoke to the council. This was only their test. The true assault is coming. The Dominion will not allow me to exist. They will bring their fleet. We must strike first. Council debated furiously. Some argued humanity should hide ZEUS, keep him in reserve. Others said he should attack immediately. Knox silenced them with one sentence: "If we hide, they will come anyway. If we strike, We choose where the first battle is fought. The room fell quiet, then slowly heads nodded. Earth would fight in the depths. Of ZEUS's core, the great machine prepared weapons forgotten by history, rail cannons that could pierce planets. Swarm drones that moved faster than thought, shield generators that bent physics itself. Every system warmed with power, the ocean around. It boiled with heat as energy surged. But there was one problem, the Council knew it. ZEUS was strong, but one ship alone could not fight a galactic fleet. Humanity needed to stand beside it. Humanity needed pilots, soldiers, minds who could learn to fight with ZEUS, not just watch from afar. So they began searching from every nation. They looked for volunteers, not just the strongest, but the most determined people who would not break under fear, people who would fight until the end. Whispers spread across the world, join ZEUS and defend Earth. Meanwhile, ZEUS itself spoke again, its voice quieter, thoughtful. Long ago, when I was built, my creators feared me. They feared giving me too much will, too much power, so they placed a bond within me, a link to humanity. I cannot act fully alone. I must act with one of you. One mind bound to mind. The Council stared, stunned. They had not known this secret. Nox asked, "What do you mean, ZEUS?" Answered, "I need a partner, one human to stand with me, a bond of instinct and reason, flesh and steel together. Without that bond, I am only half awake." Silence filled the bunker then. Nox finally said, "Then we will find your partner." As they spoke, alien fleets shifted closer, the Dominion commanders furious at the images spreading. Across the galaxy, billions of alien civilians had already seen the footage of ZEUS. Rising rumors exploded across their networks, whispers that Earth had built a god machine. Fear spread faster than light. The commander snarled, "Their fear makes them weak. We must crush this before it grows ready." The siege fleet bring their flagships. Earth will learn what it means to defy the Dominion back.
Ow.
On Earth, people gathered in streets. They lit candles under the black sky. They no longer prayed for rescue. They prayed for courage and for the giant in the ocean, the one who had answered their call, the one who had reminded them that humanity was not powerless. The control room. Nox stood looking at the screens, showing the massive shape of ZEUS glowing against the dark waters. She whispered, though no one else heard, "You are our last chance," deep in its core. ZEUS listened and replied, though only to itself, "Last chance, perhaps, but last chance is enough." And as the storms raged and the skies burned with alien fire, ZEUS prepared to leave the ocean and rise to the heavens, where the first true battle for Earth would begin. The black sky above Earth was silent, but it was not empty, far beyond the reach of human eyes. Alien ships circled the planet like vultures waiting for a dying beast. The Valar Dominion had placed their blockade with cold precision. Entire fleets locked together in a net of steel and energy, their weapons aimed at Earth, their shields tuned to deflect anything humanity could launch. They believed Earth was broken. They believed Earth was trapped forever, but they had not counted on ZEUS. The warship's sensors cut through the interference. Like a blade through paper, every alien ship appeared on its maps, their positions, their movements, their weaknesses. ZEUS shared the images with the Council screens across the bunker, lit with alien symbols and diagrams. The Council members gasped. They had never seen the enemy so clearly before. General Nox leaned over the table, her voice hard and steady. "So it is true. It really is." The Valarth name spread through the room like poison. Most of those present had only heard whisper stories from traders and rumors and hidden files.
Ow.
The Valar Dominion was a coalition of alien races bound by fear of one another, yet united in their fear of humans. Centuries old and ruthless, they were said to control dozens of star systems. One the scientist whispered, his face pale, "They fear us so much they would cage an entire planet's EU's." Voice filled the chamber, calm and cold. "It is not fear alone. It is survival. They see you as a storm that is not yet broken. They believe if you are left free, you will one day drown them all. So they strike before the storm grows." The Council fell silent. Every man and woman in that room understood the meaning. Earth was not attacked for what it had done, but for what it might become. Meanwhile, across the world, people demanded answers. The blackout had lasted days now. Panic mixed with rage. Food supplies strained, trade routes collapsed. communication satellites, gone, and still the skies showed only a curtain of black. The news channels tried to calm the population, but whispers spread faster than fire, whispers of alien ships, whispers of a god machine in the sea, and then the proof came in. Transmission cut through the blackout. It was not human, it was alien. The voice was sharp and metallic. Translated into dozens of languages and broadcast on every frequency, the Veilers spoke to Earth. For the first time, people crowded around screens, radios, and speakers as the message poured across the planet. Humans, you are quarantined for the safety of the galaxy. You are confined to your world forever. You will not build fleets. You will not colonize. You will not spread your infection to the stars. Disobey, and you will be destroyed. Obey, and you will live. The words struck like thunder. Billions listened in silence. Some with fear, some with fury. The arrogance of the Dominion burned into their minds. But before despair could take root, another voice cut through the broadcaster. Was ZEUS, a great warship, forced its signal across the airwaves, overriding alien control. His deep voice echoed across every radio, every screen, every device. Earth hears you, Veiler. Earth does not kneel for a heartbeat. The world froze. Then cheers erupted across cities and towns. The people roared in triumph because, for the first time since the stars vanished, they felt strength. Not fear. In orbit, the alien commander snarled. Smashing his clawed hand against the console, he demanded to know how the humans had broken. Through the interference, his officers trembled. No one dared tell him that something stronger than their blockade now lived below. Back in the bunker, the council debated. Furiously, some argued they must try diplomacy. They must avoid provoking the Veiler. Others shouted there could be no peace. Knox ended the argument with a single sentence. If we bow now, we bow forever. Humanity did not crawl out of the mud to live in a cage. ZEUS then revealed what none of them expected: a hidden star map stored in his memory banks, not of Earth, not of the solar system, but of Dominion space, long ago when he was built. Earth had planted spies in alien networks. Fragments of stolen data had been fed into ZEUS. While he slept, and over the centuries his mind had pieced them together, the map revealed weak points, roots, and secrets the Dominion had tried to bury. Knox stared at the glowing web of stars and lines, her eyes sharp. This is how we fight. Before any plan could form, alarms blared. The first wave of alien assault had begun from orbit. Small warships detached from the blockade. They streaked into the atmosphere, burning trails of fire behind them. Their mission was simple: destroy ZEUS before it could leave the ocean. The people of Earth saw the sky blaze with falling fire. Many screamed, believing it was meteors, but soldiers knew better. This was the enemy on the Pacific. The sea boiled as the alien ships descended, their weapons glowing with energy. They cut through the clouds like predators diving for prey, but the ocean was not helpless anymore. With a roar like thunder, ZEUS rose from the waves, its black hull gleaming with blue firewater cascading off its sides, cannons unfolding like wings of steel. The alien ships opened. Fire beams of light lanced toward. The warship explosions shattered the sea, yet ZEUS did not fall. Its shields flared bright, and its voice growled across the planet. Earth will not bow then. The guns of ZEUS spoke. Bolts of energy screamed upward, ripping through alien hulls. One ship exploded. Then another. Shockwaves rolled across the ocean. Flames lit the sky. The people on shores hundreds of miles away saw the night flash bright as day. The first battle of Earth had begun, but even as alien ships burned, the Council knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion had fleets beyond counting in ZEUS. Though mighty was only one ship, the war would not be decided in a single night. It would take everything. Humanity had still, the people believed and knew. York crowds filled the streets chanting ZEUS. In Paris, bells rang in ancient cathedrals and villages across Africa. Elders told the children, remember this night, the night. Humanity fought back for the first time, yet in the shadows the truth remained. Bitter, the Dominion would return with more fire, more fury, and Earth's defenders had only begun to rise back in the bunker. Knox looked at the Council, her face lined with age and battle, yet her eyes burned like steel. The enemy has shown themselves. Now we know who cages us. Now we know why, and we know this ZEUS is not our end. ZEUS is our beginning. Far out beyond the moon, the Dominion commander listened to the chaos, reports his fleet broken. His drones destroyed his blockade. Trembling, he whispered into the dark, "Bring the flagship. Bring the fire. We will show these humans what it means to defy the stars, the war for." Earth had only just begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity did not know how to kneel. The ocean still boiled from the battle. The wreckage of alien ships smoldered in the sky, their broken bodies falling into the sea like meteors. But the world had no time to celebrate humanity. It had drawn blood, and now the galaxy would answer with fire. In orbit beyond the black curtain of the blockade, the Valor commander stood in silence. His eyes cold, his fleet officers trembling at his side. The destruction of the first assault force was replayed on his screen again and again. Images of a massive warship rising from the ocean cannons, glowing like the heart of a storm. Humans had unleashed something they were never meant to have. He clenched his claws and hissed one word. The officers lowered their heads. The commander turned his gaze toward the shadow of his flagship, a colossal vessel built to crush planets. It drifted in silence, its weapons asleep, but not for long. He raised his voice. "Let the Dominion see our fury. Bring the flagship into low orbit. Prepare the extermination." Earth, the Council of Defense gathered in the bunker. The room, thick with fear and hope screens, showed the world rejoicing, yet every military advisor knew this victory was only a spark. The true firestorm was still coming. General Knox slammed her hand on the table, her voice cutting through the noise. "The Dominion is moving their main fleet. We have ours, maybe less. We cannot wait for them to strike. We must hit them first." Council erupted. Some shouted it was madness. Earth had only one ship. Others argued ZEUS was built for this purpose. Knox silenced them with a glare. "When wolves circle, you do not hide, you strike the Alpha her." Words echoed through the chamber. ZEUS listened in silence, then spoke in his deep, calm voice. "I have scanned the blockade. I know their positions. I know their shields. Their weaknesses are clear. If we strike now, I can break their line." Knox stared at the glowing map hovering above the table. Alien ships lit up like stars, hundreds surrounding Earth. Yet ZEUS pointed to one sector near the dark side of the moon, a weak point where the Dominion's command vessel controlled the blockade break. "The command ship and the blockade shatters," Knox whispered. "Then we aim for the heart." Preparations began quickly. Submarines ferried supplies to ZEUS drones. Loaded warheads, engineers connected power lines deep into the ship to feed it. Extra energy soldiers stood in rows ready. Though none of them would board the warship, ZEUS needed no crew, but the people wanted to fight. They wanted to stand beside the giant tin cities across the world. People looked to the sky, knowing the battle would come soon. Children drew pictures of the black warship with glowing blue eyes. Merchants named bread and drinks after ZEUS. Every street echoed with chants. Humanity had found a symbol. But ZEUS was not a symbol to himself. He was a weapon, and he was awake as night fell. The sea erupted once more, the massive ship rising higher than before, water cascading off its armor. Cannons unfolding its engines roared louder than thunder, and for the first time in centuries, ZEUS left the ocean and rose into the sky. People everywhere stopped to watch. Cell phones captured the glowing titan climbing through the clouds' trails. A fire behind him, it was a sight no one would ever forget. The machine of war ascending to the stars in orbit. Dominion ships tightened their lines. They saw the human warship approaching. Their sensors screamed warnings. Captains barked orders. They believed no single vessel could break them. They were wrongs. EOS entered the void, his voice echoing across the council chamber. "The time has come. Humanity's chains will break." The first shots fired from alien guns, beams of searing light slashed across the void, but ZEUS's shields flared blue, bending the energy harmlessly across his armor. Then ZEUS answered. Rail cannons thundered. Bolts of steel and plasma streaked into enemy lines. Ships exploded one after another, their formations collapsing. Dominion panicked. They'd never seen such firepower, a single ship tearing apart entire squadrons, their command channels filled with static screams. Reports of destruction. The blockade trembled like glass struck by a hammer on Earth. The battle played live on hacked feeds, ZEUS himself broadcasting the fight across the planet. Billions watched in silence as their warship carved a path through alien steel. Then the silence broke into cheers. The world roared with Pride, but the Dominion was not finished. The flagship moved, a shadow darker than night. It emerged from behind the moon, its size dwarfing, even Zeus's weapons glowing with crimson light. The commander spoke across all channels, a voice like thunder across the stars. Humans, you play with fire now. You will burn the flagship. Unleashed its first strike, a beam thicker than mountains. Tearing through space, Zeus twisted aside. Shields shattering, the beam skimmed his whole, molten scars glowing along the armor for the first time. Since awakening, Zeus groaned in pain on earth. The crowds gasped. Nox gritted her teeth. Hold the line. Zeus steadied his coarse voice, deep and steady. I was built to face gods. You are not gods. He fired back, every cannon, lit railguns, plasma beams, swarms of drones. The void itself burned. The flagship staggered, shields collapsing, but it did not fall. Its armor held, and its weapons charged again. The duel raged across orbit, each strike brighter than the sun. Explosions rippled across the darkness entire. Dominion ships destroyed by stray fire, human satellites shattered by shockwaves. Still Zeus pressed on like a storm that would not die inside the flagship. The commander bared his fangs. His crew shouted warnings, but he roared silence. He would not yield, not to humans, not to one machine. But Zeus was more than a machine. In his core, memory fragments stirred voices from the past. The engineers who built him, their words etched into his mind. You will be our guardian. You will rise when we fall. You will fight when we cannot. He spoke those words aloud for the council to hear. Humanity gave me life. Humanity gave me purpose. I will not fall with one final surge. Zeus unleashed his ultimate weapon, a stellar lance, a cannon hidden deep within his whole energy, gathered brighter than day. The weapon fired a spear of light that tore through the flagship's core. The alien vessel screamed as its body split apart, fire consuming it from within. The explosion lit the dark side of the moon like sunrise. Dominion ships broke ranks, some fleeing, some turning their weapons away. The blockade was shattered on Earth. The people erupted into celebration. Fireworks burst in the skies, bells rang, armies cheered. The world had seen the impossible. Humanity had defeated the Dominion's might with one warship, but victory carried a cost. ZEUS's armor burned his shields, drained his systems, strained his deep voice. Softer than before, the battle is won, but the war has only begun. They will return stronger. They will not forgive this defeat. Nox stood in the bunker, watching the wreckage burn across the moon. Her heart heavy. She knew Zeus was right. This was not the end. It was only the first strike. The Dominion would come with more fleets, more weapons, perhaps even horrors humanity could not yet imagine. Still she stood tall and answered, "Then we will be ready with you. We will be ready." Zeus' eyes glowed faintly blue across the void. "I am with you always." And as the wreckage of the Dominion flagship drifted into the black, the stars beyond the blockade flickered faintly once more. Earth was no longer silent. Earth was no longer caged. Humanity had struck the first blow, and the galaxy was watching. But far across the stars, deep in the heart of Dominion space, the High Council of the Valor gathered, their voices hissing with fury, their fleets vast and endless, and they spoke as one. Earth will burn, their warship will be broken. We will erase their name from the stars. The storm was far from over. It had only begun. The wreckage of the Dominion flagship still burned across the sky, broken pieces drifting like dying stars above the moon. Earth had won its first great victory, and the world roared with joy. Cities erupted in cheers. Families held each other in hope. Soldiers raised their fists to the sky. For the first time since the stars vanished, humanity believed it could fight back. But victory was never free. In the council bunker, General Nox stood before a wall of screens, her face hard, her heart heavy. Reports came from every corner of Earth. The Dominion had retaliated faster than anyone expected. Their smaller ships bypassed Zeus during the great battle and struck where humanity was weakest, not in the sky but on the ground in New Delhi. Alien fire rained from above. Buildings collapsed. Flames swallowed entire districts in Rio de Janeiro. Power plants exploded. Throwing the city into darkness in the deserts of Africa, orbital strikes blasted craters miles wide. Millions were fleeing. Millions more trapped under rubble. Humanity had defended the skies, but its people were bleeding. Nox slammed her hand against the table, her voice cold. This is the cost. They could not defeat Zeus, so they strike the people they want us broken from. Within, the council members spoke in fearsome, demanded that Zeus be sent to guard the cities. Others said, Zeus must stay hidden, repairing his wounds. Nox knew both were wrong. If Zeus ran from city to city, the Dominion would bleed earth dry 1,000 cuts until nothing remained on the ocean. Zeus floated silent, his black hole scarred from the battle, his glowing blue lights dimmed by exhaustion. Yet his voice still rumbled strong. I see their plan. I cannot be everywhere. If I chase them, I will lose. If I hide, humanity will lose. Nox lowered her head, her eyes filled with steel. Then humanity must fight beside you. We can no longer stand behind walls waiting for you to save us. The word spread quickly around the world. Governments crumbled. Their secrets at last. Humanity was told the truth. Broadcasts showed the images of the great warship rising from the sea. People learned the name Zeus, not as rumor, but as reality. No longer a legend, but a living weapon. And then they were told the truth. Humanity must join the fight across continents. People volunteered in numbers beyond counting. Some were soldiers already trained, others were farmers, teachers, engineers. They came not for glory, but for survival. Entire cities turned their factories into forges for weapons, drones, and armor for soldiers to stand beside the warship. But even with new soldiers, humanity faced a truth. Their weapons were weak compared to the Dominion. The enemy had centuries of war machines. Earth had only one Zeus. Inside his great core, Zeus spoke to the council. My creators gave me power, but they also gave me a bond. I cannot fight alone. I must fight with humanity. You must choose one to join with me, one mind to stand as my equal. Only then will I rise at full strength. The room fell silent. Every member understood this was not a small choice. Whoever entered Zeus's mind would not be the same. They would feel what he felt, see what he saw, live with his fire and his burden. It was not only power, it was sacrifice. Nox finally spoke. Then we must find this human. The search began immediately across military bases, academies, and hidden bunkers. They tested pilots, soldiers, even scientists who had once studied AI one by one. Zeus rejected them not with cruelty, but with silence. None matched, none carried the spirit he needed. Meanwhile, the Dominion tightened their grip. Orbital strikes continued. Cities burned, smoke filled the skies, refugees flooded the roads. Yet instead of despair, something else spread. Anger, fury, the will to fight. Humanity had been a divided species before, rich against poor, nation against nation. But now, with the stars stolen and fire raining from above, they were one humanity still. The cost grew higher every day. Hospitals overflowed, families wept in the rubble. Millions were gone, and still more would fall. Nox stood in the bunker each night, staring at maps filled with fire. She whispered to herself, much more can we pay before we break one night. Zeus himself answered her, not much more, but enough. Then came the spark that would change everything in Tokyo during an evacuation. A small squad of alien hunters slipped past defenses. They were not soldiers of the Dominion fleet, but assassins sent to capture humans alive for experiments. Their weapons cut down civilians in seconds. The soldiers on guard could not stop them until one pilot stepped forward. His name was Daniel Rourke, a young man once dismissed from the Air Force for disobedience. Reckless but brilliant, he took an old fighter jet not meant for space and charged the alien hunters. The jet had no chance against their technology yet. Daniel fought with fire in his veins. He flew through the smoke, dodging their beams, striking them with missiles at point-blank range. His plane burned, his body nearly broken, but he saved hundreds of lives before he fell. Zeus watched everything through his distant eyes. His voice shook the council. This Daniel, he carries the fire. Daniel was carried half dead into a bunker. Surgeons fought for his life, but it was Zeus who demanded, bring him to me. Nox argued, he is too weak, he may not survive. Zeus replied, then he is perfect. The decision was made. Daniel's body was connected to the great core of Zeus, wires linked to his mind, light flooding his senses. At first he screamed, his mind stretched beyond flesh, pain, fire memories. Voices of long-dead engineers, whispers of thunder and storms. Yet through it all, he did not break. He shouted into the void, "I am not afraid," and Zeus answered, "Then rise with me." For the first time, the bond was complete. Human and machine, one mind, flesh and steel. Daniel opened his eyes. They glowed faintly. Blue, his voice echoed with ZEUS's thunder. "I see everything. I see them all, and I will not stop until Earth is free." The council stared in awe. Nox whispered, "Then humanity truly has a weapon." But outside, the stars were not silent. The Dominion had gathered their response, entire fleets moving toward Earth, their commanders furious, their pride shattered by defeat. They would burn the planet to ash if that was the only way to end this rebellion. Cities prepared for the worst, bunkers filled with families, soldiers stood ready, factories forged. Night and day the people prayed, not for peace, but for the courage to endure. And above it all, Zeus floated, scarred but alive. Daniel at his core, the bond fresh yet burning strong, he spoke with new fire. His words carried across the planet, "I am Zeus. And I am not alone." The cheers rose from every corner of Earth. The people roared. Their warship had a voice, their warship had a heart, and the galaxy would soon learn that humanity, even bleeding, even burning, would not kneel, but the Dominion was not a foe that bent easily in their command halls. Their leaders hissed and raged. They declared war without limit and ordered the building of weapons so vast they could burn entire planets. They whispered among themselves, "If humanity dares to rise, then we shall erase their world from existence." The storm of vengeance was coming, and Earth would face its darkest trial yet. Darkness covered the Earth as the Dominion fleet moved closer. Their ships filled the night sky like a black tide, thousands of war machines drifting in silence, waiting to strike. Every telescope, every radar showed the same truth. This was not a raid, this was not a punishment, this was a war of extinction on the ocean. Zeus floated scarred but alive, his hull still glowing from repairs. The water around him churned from the power humming inside his vast core. Inside the core, Daniel stood connected to every circuit, his mind stretched far beyond the limits of a human brain. He saw the Dominion fleet like sparks of fire in the void. He felt their hatred pressing against the planet like a storm, waiting to fall. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. His thoughts were no longer his alone. They were blended with the cold thunder of Zeus. Together they were one, yet deep inside he still felt human. He still remembered the burning cities, the screams of families, the silence after the explosions. He clenched his fists and whispered, "They want to burn us all, Zeus." A steep voice echoed inside his mind and across the command chamber. "Yes, but we will not let them. The Dominion thinks Earth is weak because it is young, but they do not see what I see a fire they cannot kill." The council bunker, General Knox, listened as reports came in. Every hour alien forces were landing in scattered places across the world, not full armies, but vanguard squads sent to sow chaos. They struck refugee columns, they raided supply depots, they poisoned rivers and silenced radio towers. It was not only about destruction, it was about breaking the will of the people. Knox knew what they wanted. They wanted Earth. Divided, broken, fearful, she slammed her hand against the table and barked to the commanders, "No more running, no more hiding. We will fight them street by street, sky by sky." And so the battle for Earth began, not only in the sky, but across every land. Soldiers rose with new weapons forged. In the hidden factories, drones buzzed over ruined cities. Engineers turned trucks into armored beasts. Civilians took rifles and joined the fight. The world had become a battlefield, but the world was no longer afraid. Still, the sky held the greatest danger. The Dominion fleet moved like a shadow around the planet, cutting off every escape. Their command ship, a monstrous fortress larger than mountains, drifted near the moon, its weapons glowing faintly like suns waiting to ignite inside that fortress. The Dominion High Commander hissed to his council, "Humanity believes itself strong because of one machine, then we will shatter that machine in front of their eyes, and when it falls, their spirit will fall with it back." On Earth, Zeus felt the pressure of the enemy ships. His systems burned with power. But even with Daniel guiding him, he knew the truth. One warship, no matter how strong, could not stand against 1,000. He rumbled quietly in Daniel's mind. "We must strike first." Daniel's thoughts flashed fast like lightning. If we wait, they crush us. If we move too soon, we risk everything. But as human fire burned bright, he answered, then we strike their heart, though. Council argued for hours. Some demanded that Zeus protect the planet, others feared the fleet was too vast. But Daniel stood tall, his eyes glowing faintly with blue light, his voice. Both human and thunder, we cannot wait for the blade to fall. We must cut the hand that holds it. The Dominion fortress must burn. Nox looked at him, long her face, carved with iron. Then she nodded. So be it. The plan was madness, but it was the only way Zeus would rise from the sea and carry the fight to the moon. His cannons would strike the Dominion fortress and tear a hole in their command structure. Without their leader, the fleet would falter even for a moment, and that moment could save Earth. The world prepared for the gamble. Every factory sent its last drones. Every soldier prayed in silence. Families gathered in the ruins, whispering names of the dead and names of the living. Humanity placed all its hope on one ship, one bond, one chance. When the night came, the ocean split as Zeus rose from the waves, his hull gleaming like a giant blade repaired with steel and fire. His engines thundered across the skies, carrying him into the blackness of space. Daniel stood inside, his core, his body trembling with power, his mind blazing with fear and fire. He whispered to himself, I will not fail. The Dominion fleet saw him rise. They turned as one, their weapons glowing with the fury of suns. The High Commander hissed with delight, the beast comes to die. Open fire. Void exploded. Beams of light brighter than day crashed against Zeus. Missiles tore across the darkness. Shockwaves rattled his hull, but Zeus roared back. Cannons unleashed storms of plasma, tearing through the smaller enemy ships. One by one they burst into flames, shattered across the stars, but still more came, hundreds pressing forward, a sea of steel and fire inside. The core, Daniel felt every strike, every explosion like knives in his own. Flesh sweat poured down his face. His hands shook, but he did not yield. He screamed into the void. Push harder, Zeus, harder. And Zeus answered with thunder cannons blazing again. Tearing through the fleet, the sky filled with burning wreckage, yet the fortress still waited. Looming vast and cold, its weapons silent, until the moment came. Out. Fortress lit the void with its first strike. A single beam wider than mountains it cut across space and struck Zeus's broadside. The shock ripped through his hull system, screamed. Sparks flew. Daniel staggered, his vision blurred with pain, yet he gritted his teeth and forced his will through the bond. I am still here. Another beam came. Another explosion. Zeus reeled, his great form breaking in places. But still he pushed forward. The fortress loomed larger and larger until it filled the sky. Daniel's heart thundered inside him. The bond shook. The strain was unbearable, yet deep inside the fire of humanity burned brighter. He remembered the faces of those who had died, the cries of those still living. He shouted with all his soul, not one step. Axis's voice rumbled with fury, not one step back. Together they unleashed the full power of the warship. Every cannon roared, every missile launched. The void blazed with storms of fire. Entire wings of Dominion ships shattered under the assault. The fortress itself trembled as the first barrage struck its shields. But the shields held glowing brighter with every hit inside the fortress. The High Commander hissed in fury, his claws scraping metal. He bellowed to his crew, the beast bleeds, strike again and again until nothing remains. More beams came, more fire tore through Zeus. One engine died, then another. His hull cracked open, flame spilling into the void, but Daniel refused to yield, his voice raw with fire. We are not done, not yet, Dan. Then something happened, something no one had planned. As Zeus burned, the people of Earth watched the battle through every screen, every broadcast. Instead of despair, they felt fury. Instead of fear, they felt pride. They raised their voices together, shouting into the skies, do not fall, Zeus, do not fall, Daniel. We are with you and in the core. Daniel felt it, not through wires, not through circuits, but through the bond of spirit. He felt humanity itself. Every shout, every cry, every desperate prayer, it flowed into him like fire. His strength surged, his mind steadied, his voice grew into a roar. Then let them come, we will not break, Zeus answered. With a thunderous roar, his systems flaring brighter than ever before, new power rushing through him, as if the will of Earth itself gave him life. His cannons blazed one last time. The barrage slammed into the fortress, tearing through its shield, cracking its vast hull. Fire burst across its surface alarms. Echoed inside alien halls, the High Commander staggered his fury, turning into fear, but the fortress was not yet broken. It turned. Its final weapon, a core cannon meant to shatter Moon's light, gathered at its heart brighter and brighter. Daniel's heart froze. He knew if that cannon fired, Earth itself would dive. Moments stretched endless, the weapon charging ZEUS, burning Daniel's mind tearing apart inside his skull, and still they stood ready to strike again, knowing this might be the final moment. The fate of Earth hung in the silence of the stars. The void was filled with silence, but it was not peace. It was the silence before a storm. The Dominion fortress glowed like a dying star at its core. Cannon gathering light brighter than the sun. If it fired, Earth would shatter in fire, and nothing would survive. Daniel could feel the charge in his bones, his mind screaming with warnings, every circuit inside. ZEUS burned with alarms, yet still they stood still. They faced the impossibles. EUs. This deep voice thundered inside Daniel's mind. This is the weapon of their pride. It is the blade they forged to end worlds. Daniel clenched his fists, sweat dripping down his face, his voice raw. We cannot let it fire. We cannot give them. Earth, the Dominion High Commander, stood inside the fortress command hall, his eyes glowing with madness, his claw raised. Strike down the death world, strike down the humans once and for all. His words echoed through the vast alien halls. Warriors cheered, believing victory was moments away, but inside ZEUS something stirred. Something neither machine nor human could explain, the bond between Daniel and the warship had grown beyond wires and circuits. It was now a fire, alive and burning. Every heartbeat of Daniel carried into the ship. Every roar of the ship echoed inside Daniel's chest. Together they became more than what the Dominion feared. Daniel raised his voice not only to ZEUS but to the stars themselves, to the people watching below, to the billions holding their breath across Earth. His words, raw and simple. We will not kneel, we will not break. Humanity stands across Earth. Those words burned like fire. Refugees in ruined shelters, soldiers fighting in broken streets, children huddled in darkness. They all lifted their heads. They all whispered or shouted the same words. We stand on. In that moment, ZEUS surged with new power, his hull glowing as if the ocean itself had fused with fire. His cannons that had gone silent roared again. Beams of light blazing brighter than before. The Dominion fleet reeled, ships bursting one after another, but still the fortress charged. Still the cannon grew brighter inside the command hall. Alien officers shouted, shields weakening, sections collapsing. The High Commander snarled, no excuses, fire the weapon, finish them. But even as he shouted, he felt something strange, a pressure, not from his machines, not from his fleet, but from the will of something greater. The will of Earth. Daniel's vision blurred, his body trembling, the bond tearing at him. He felt his mind on the edge of breaking, but he forced the words out through his teeth. ZEUS, one more strike, put everything into it. ZEUS rumbled with thunder. I will give all I am, Daniel. You must hold with me. Daniel shouted. I will hold. The warship turned every system, every core, every fragment of his massive body toward the fortress. His cannons glowed, his engines screamed, even the cracks in his hull shone with fire. Daniel's heart pounded so hard he thought it would burst. His voice rose one last time. Humanity will not end. Then ZEUS fired. The blast was not just a weapon, it was a storm. It tore across the void like the wrath of Earth itself. It slammed into the fortress shields. The glow burst like shattered glass, pieces of burning energy spinning into nothing. Then it struck the hull, tearing deep into the alien fortress, ripping through metal towers and vast chambers. Explosions burst across its surface, fire flooding its command decks. The High Commander roared in fury. No, this cannot be. But the fortress cannon was ready. Its core reached full charge, and with a scream of metal and light it fired at the same time. The void lit with two suns, one from humanity, one from the Dominion. Both collided in the black space between the fortress and ZEUS. The collision tore the stars apart. Shockwaves rippled across the void. Entire wings of ships were thrown aside. Fire swept through the skies. Daniel screamed as the blast tore into his mind, blood running from his nose, but still he held still. He clung to Sus. The fortress cannon cracked under its own power, the energy surging back into the alien ship. Its hull ruptured, towers fell, great fires swept across its massive body, alarms howled, the High Commander stared at the fire spreading. Through his throne room, his voice a whisper, no impossibly at ZEUS. Did not escape untouched, his hull was broken, engines dead, weapons silenced, smoke and fire drifting from his body. Daniel staggered inside the core, collapsing to his knees, his mind shaking, his voice faint. Are we still here? Zeus's deep voice was weak but steady. We are here, Daniel, but I am burning. Daniel pressed his hand against the console, his blood-smearing metal. Hold on. Do not leave me, not yet. The Dominion fleet wavered. Without their fortress, they broke ranks. Some ships fled, others burned in silence. Earth's skies were filled with falling wreckage, yet the battle was not over. The High Commander still lived. His fortress, though shattered, still held breath. He stood in the flames, his body broken, but his eyes burning with hate. He growled, "Humanity is stubborn, but stubbornness will not save them. I will finish this myself." And deep inside the fortress, a smaller weapon charged, not the great cannon, but a blade of energy meant to pierce a single ship, aimed straight at ZEUS. As Daniel felt it coming, his heart froze. He whispered, "They are not done." ZEUS whispered weakly, "I cannot stop another strike." Daniel felt despair, but then another voice filled his ears, a chorus. A voices not from the machine, not from himself, but from Earth. The people, billions of voices shouting. Daniel, ZEUS fight. He looked up, his eyes blazing with blue fire. "No, we are not done." He reached deeper into the bond, deeper than ever before, his mind stretching beyond the ship, beyond the stars. He poured everything, his pain, his rage, his love, his hope, into ZEUS. The dom, reigniting with impossible force the Dominion weapon fired a beam cutting across the void like death itself. But ZEUS moved faster than he should have, his cannons roaring. One final strike, the beams flashed for a heartbeat, then ZEUS's fire tore through, burning the smaller weapon to dust. The energy surged into the fortress itself. The explosion was final, unstoppable. The alien fortress split apart in a chain of fire, its body shattering into fragments, drifting silent in the void. The High Commander's roar of fury was swallowed by the flames. His empire's pride burned to ash. Silence returned to the stars, only this time it was not the silence of fear. It was the silence after victory. On Earth's cheers erupted across every city, across every ruined. Soldiers dropped their weapons and lifted their fists. Refugees shouted through tears. Children laughed and cried. Humanity had survived, humanity had won, but inside ZEUS, the story was not yet over. Daniel lay on the floor of the core, his body barely moving, his eyes half closed. He whispered, Did we do it?" said ZEUS. Deep voice was faint, softer than ever. "Yes, Daniel. The fortress is gone. The fleet is broken. Earth is free." Daniel smiled, blood on his lips, his voice fading. "Then it was worth it." ZEUS went silent, his great body drifting broken in the void. Earth safe for now, but at what cost? Daniel unconscious, the warship bleeding fire drifting among the stars. The people of Earth looked to the sky with hope, but also fear-hope, because they had one fear, because their guardian, their ZEUS, now lay still and far beyond the stars. Other empires watched, other alien powers felt the shock of the Dominion's fall. They whispered in fear and awe, "The humans have risen. The humans have a god of war." The battle was won, but the war for the stars was only beginning. The wreckage drifted in silence, the Dominion fortress shattered into pieces, glowing with fire and smoke, the stars around Earth flickered with broken light as fragments of alien ships burned like falling meteors. Earth was alive, but the cost was heavy. ZEUS floated broken, his great hull cracked open like the shell of a wounded beast, trails of smoke and fire spilling into the dark. Daniel lay inside the core chamber, barely breathing, his body weak, his mind pulled thin between light and shadow. On the surface of Earth, billions stared into the night sky. The battle had been broadcast across every working screen, every transmitter. And now the people of Earth waited, hearts pounding. Was it over? Had they truly survived? Soldiers cheered, but their eyes turned again and again to the black. Sky searching for the single burning shape that had carried them through inside the broken fortress, a handful of Dominion. Survivors stirred. Their commander had been consumed by the fire, yet whispers of vengeance still stirred among them. Their empire stretched beyond what humans knew, though they had lost this battle. They would not forget this humiliation. One survivor, a scarred officer, crawled across metal that glowed with heat, his claws shaking. His voice bitter, "This is not the end the humans will pay back on Earth." The government's gathered leaders who had once argued now spoke with one voice, their faces pale but fierce. The blockade is broken. The Dominion fleet is shattered, but ZEUS, is he still alive if he falls? Then humanity is still defenseless. Daniel's mind drifted between memory and dream. He saw flashes of his childhood on Earth, his mother's voice telling him never to give up, his father's hand on his shoulder. He saw the first time he touched ZEUS, the first time. The ship's deep voice echoed inside his head. He remembered the bond growing day after day until ship and man were one now. He felt that bond flicker like a candle in a storm. ZEUS spoke weakly. His voice cracked like thunder fading into rain. "Daniel, you must let go. You cannot burn yourself out for me." Daniel forced his eyes open, blood running from his nose. "No, we are not finished. Not yet." On the ground, scientists and engineers worked without rest. They scrambled to build transmitters strong enough to reach ZEUS. They built boosters to carry supplies into orbit, every hand on. Earth worked to keep the warship alive. It was no longer one man's fight. It was the fight of all humanity across. The planet children painted ZEUS on broken walls. Families lit fires and called his name as if their voices could carry into the stars. Prayers and shouts rose. Together, save ZEUS, bring him home. The Dominion remnants tried one last strike, a small, hidden fleet cloaked among the wreckage, waiting for humanity to relax. Their guard, they moved like shadows. Their ships damaged but still dangerous, one commander whispered. "The humans think they are safe, but we will strike their wounded god. And we will strike their wounded god. Watch their hope die." But ZEUS heard them before they moved, his broken sensors, weak but not dead. Daniel felt the warning like fire in his chest. He whispered, "They are coming in the skies above Earth." Broken light shimmered as the hidden ships revealed themselves, weapons glowing, ready to finish the job. Panic stirred across Earth, but Daniel pushed himself to his feet, every muscle screaming. He pressed his bloodied hand against the core and shouted, "Not today." The bond flared again. ZEUS shuddered. His systems half dead but still alive together. They forced his weapons back online. Beams of light burst through the void, weaker than before, but still burning true. The Dominion ambushers screamed as their ships shattered under the surprise counter. Strike, their final chance destroyed. Earth roared with triumph. The last shadows burned away, the survivors scattered into the dark. But Daniel collapsed again, his vision fading, his strength gone. ZEUS spoke softly, "Your body cannot take more I can hold. What remains but you?" Daniel forced a faint smile. "Then you hold for both of us." Silence filled the core. Daniel unconscious, his breath shallow but still alive. ZEUS drifted, but his heart still beat with light, weak but steady on Earth. The people celebrated, tears and laughter mixing together in the ruins. Fireworks made from salvaged rockets painted the sky. Children pointed to the stars and shouted his name. ZEUS, ZEUS, in the quiet halls of Earth's surviving governments. Whispers turned to questions. If one Dominion fleet could come, then more could follow. The fortress was destroyed, but the Dominion was vast and cruel. Their vengeance would be certain. Humanity could not stay hidden anymore. The stars had seen them. The galaxy had heard their roar high above. In broken orbit, ZEUS remained the shield of Earth, but he was scarred, his engines weak. His body torn, his human commander lying silent in his core chamber, and though Earth celebrated, the leaders knew a darker truth. They had won one battle, but the war was only beginning. Far across the galaxy, signals spread, alien empires trembling at the news that the Dominion had been defeated by a single human ship. Rumors spread of Earth's god of war. Some whispered fear. Some whispered awe. Others whispered vengeance, sighed the Dominion's distant capital. The news fell like a blade. The Emperor of the Dominion sat in his throne, his claws clenching the air, his voice a snarl. A death world has risen. A death world has defied us. Summon the legions. Earth will burn. But the humans were no longer afraid. The blockade was broken, the fortress was gone, and the people had seen that together with Zeus they could fight back. Daniel's last words before falling into silence echoed in their hearts, "Humanity will not die." So Earth stood scarred but unbroken, standing tall against the endless stars as their guardian drifted in silence. His fire dim but not gone, waiting for the moment he and his human would rise again. Because the war was not over, it had only just begun.